A Halloween Scare in Kentucky. On Halloween, when ghouls and ghosts, beasts and banshees, vampires and witches are on the prowl, are you prepared for the scariest night in Kentucky? Let's read this book. Prepare, if you dare, for a tale full of thrills, the time when Kentucky gave everyone chills. A night filled with sights that are best left unseen. You ready? You sure? This was my Halloween. The werewolves howled loudly. "Aroo!" The moon shone so bright. I stayed in my bedroom, the curtains shut tight. My heart started pounding, my knees felt so weak, but being a brave kid, I just had to peek. I pulled back the curtains, my mouth open wide. An army of monsters had gathered outside. They staggered and stumbled and lurched down the streets with bags full of cookies and candy corn treats. Emerging from sewers and houses and stores came creatures and critters with ravenous roars. Then more came along from all over the state. They filled up the streets at a dizzying rate. Look at all the spooks. From Louisville, Lexington, Georgetown, LaGrange, the weird and the wonderful, freakish and strange, all gathered together for one spooky night to seek out the living and give them a fright. The thunder clapped loudly with terrible booms. The witches dodged lightning and clung to their brooms. The two-headed doggies tried chasing their tails, and banshees let loose with their hideous wails. The vampires hung out on the street in their gangs and grinned just to show off their pearly white fangs. The mummies moaned loudly and swayed side to side while Frankenstein stomped around town with his bride. A giant red chicken arrived in Kentucky. You knew from his walk he was fearless and plucky. He strode down the street and was heard to be gloating, "You'll never get me in a crispy crumb coating." But fate can be fickle and life can be cruel. He ran into wizards, engaged in a duel. He wanted to run, but had nowhere to hide. A magic bolt struck him, and now he's deep fried. The creepies were crawly, the crazies were crazed. The Bowling Green zombies had eyes that were glazed. The ogres from Frankfurt were ugly as sin, with big bulging noses and warts on their chin. The ghouls danced around but were lacking in soul. The gargoyles could rock, and the headless could roll. Although the whole spectacle seemed to spell doom, I foolishly thought I'd be safe in my room. But then something happened that made my heart jump. From somewhere below me, I heard a big thump. I froze for a moment, as quiet as a mouse. Yes, I could hear noises from inside the house. I put on my slippers and pulled on my robe. I shook like a leaf, but I don't think it showed. Then slowly but surely I crept down the stairs, preparing myself for the biggest of scares. My hands trembled wildly. I opened the door. I still shudder now at the horrors I saw. The stereo spat out some hideous sounds as dozens of monsters jumped madly around. The sight was horrific. It made my skin crawl. These monsters were having their Halloween ball. and right in the middle, one monster loomed tall, the hairiest, scariest monster of all. He turned round and saw me. I fell to my knees. I'm not very tasty, so don't eat me, please. He beamed ear to ear and broke free from the huddle, ran over and gave me a big monster cuddle. Aww. At last we have found you, he said with a smile. From Florence to Owensboro, we've looked for a while. We came here to give you your wonderful prize. He held up a trophy in front of my eyes. A prize? And for me? I replied with a grin. But what did I enter, and how did I win? You've won the first prize for the costume you're wearing. It even scares me, and I'm tip-top at scaring. This isn't a costume. I'm just dressed as me. Exactly, the scariest thing you can be. A small human child with a cute button nose. Your teeth are so shiny, you've only 10 toes. No hair on your face, no horns on your head. The whites of your eyes are not glowing or red. A bone-chilling costume, a horrible sight. A worthy ensemble for Halloween night. We partied together until the moon set, a Halloween night that I'll never forget. And next year I won't want to hide in my bed. The monsters won't scare me. I'll scare them instead.